This is another Sunday night in the baseball world, and boy, do we have a lot of news and notes to talk about tonight. We will get to it all coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are sponsored by DraftKings Pick 6. We appreciate them for the sponsorship of the podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. Jeff, we missed you last week. How's everything?
Pretty good. Everything went smoothly last weekend, and appreciate. I did listen to you and Paul after the fact. You guys were fantastic.
I was saying, how did we do? We did all right.
Yeah, you guys are. Yeah, I got Wally pipped yet again. Somehow I was able to keep my job. You keep on lining up better players and people and podcasters than me. So
Paul's great. I really like Paul. He's a great dude.
Yeah, he is fantastic. We love Paul.
Yeah, it was fun to have him on, but it's good to have you back. Glad to hear everything is going well. You and I live in the LA area. There's a lot of news out here tonight. None of it good for our hometown Dodgers, not who we root for, but our hometown Dodgers. Mookie Beets is the biggest news, and we'll just lead off with that before we jump into other stuff. Got hit by a pitch this afternoon in the Dodgers game against the Royals. Fractured left hand for Mookie. No timetable from Dave Roberts, but no surgery required, so that helps a little bit. But I imagine we're without Mookie for 6-8 weeks, something like that, if I had to guess. But obviously a big blow for the Dodgers and a big blow for fantasy teams losing your number one pick like that.
The only people that had a worse hour than the Dodgers did today was Roy McIlroy. It was just really bad.
That was heartbreaking for McIlroy, by the way.
Yeah, and because the news on Yamamoto came out about the same time too. Yeah, really heartbreaking for Roy to lose that way. But Mookie, though, I was reading, average span, as long as it's not the hamate bone, is usually about 50 to 60 days for this type of injury. So we'll see.
Try to do the math. My math was about right then. That's about what I guessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's June 16th. Obviously you held him tonight. If he's out 8 weeks, you still hold him, right?
He's Mookie. I think it's so hard not to.
So he's out 8. If he say just use let's use 8 weeks as a ballpark, maybe use 50 days. Use 2 months. Gets you back August 16th. I think the last 6 weeks is probably a hold, but man, that's pretty darn close.
Yeah, and because you don't know what's he going to come back like,
right? You don't know the power is sapped and all.
He has one setback. What happens then?
It's a really tough one. It's right on. We're right at the time of year that's right on the edge. I think. I don't think I could drop him though, to be honest.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'm kind of curious if anybody did, as a matter of fact, and. I don't know if it's updated yet. Obviously,
right.
He's currently listed as 100 when it comes to the. Oh wait, that's not the main event, but I'm assuming that he's going to be 100. I don't think anybody's going to cut him just yet.
There were no. I just looked. There were no Mookie Betts drops in the main event.
Yeah. Timothy Tunks. That hurts, brother. Hopefully he doesn't have CES's hand guy.
Oh, wow. Savage. Jeez. We're starting off on fire early here.
Just sitting here, man.
I'm looking. Yeah. Jordan Wicks was the biggest. He was dropped on 45 minutes. One of them was mine. That was actually a bummer. I was actually fired up to have Jordan Wicks and he got hurt, but I do not see a Mookie Betts drop there.
Where are you looking on the forum pages for that or
player movement under stats?
Player movement. Okay.
You can go ads and drop. There was one Mookie Betts drop in the online championship.
Okay. Interesting. Well, that's 1,008,
Someone named Team Pakowski, not Pianowski, but Pakowski.
Is that the Polish rifle?
Eric, that'd be Eric, right? Piatkowski. This is Piatkowski. Pretty close, though.
Okay.
Good reference there. Nebraska legend, Eric Piatkowski.
Clipper legend. That's what I was
legend, too.
When Walt used to do their games, man. Oh, beautiful.
They loved Piatkowski. Him and Loy Vaught were like the kings of LA.
Michael Olowokandi, the third best center in the history of Western civilization. Oh man, when I first moved out there, they were doing games, and I'd work a lot of nights, and it got me through some nights there. Listen to him and Ralph Lawler. I loved it.
They were great. I was sure Keith Kloss was going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
There was one team in the RotoWire Championship dropped Mookie Betts for Charlie Blackmon, so that was the only one there. None in the main event. But good question. It's interesting. I hadn't even thought to look to that yet. But you mentioned Yoshi Yamamoto, 15-day IL with a strained rotator cuff. He didn't think it was serious, but then there were some quotes this afternoon. The quote was, "It's not season ending," which is like always the worst quote. You're like, oh, that's great. But like, does that mean he's back in a month? Does that mean he's back with a week left before the playoffs? Like, it was very open. I imagine we'll get some more info when they do some more press the next couple of days, but it didn't sound good on Yamamoto.
No, it didn't. And, you know, anytime it's rotator cuff, it's not good. Initially, they were saying triceps tenderness or soreness and all that, and then all of a sudden became rotator cuff. That's worse, I think. Maybe
it's worse.
Yeah, I could have people yelling to me, "It's all connected, part of the kinetic chain." I get it. All bad.
21 Yamamoto drops in the main event.
I can see it. And the funny thing, I was just kind of lamenting, like, what if I had ignored the Korea start and taken Yamamoto at the 2-3 turn? How better life would be. And I looked, and my conclusion was it would have helped what I needed, but it also wouldn't have made life that much better because, you know, he hasn't been that amazing. He's had some good starts, but yeah, this is no bueno.
I lied to you. That was overall drops in the NFBC leagues. It was no drops in the main event, 16 drops in the online championship. So sorry, I was wrong about that. But
so 16
Yamamoto drops. I'd probably give it a week just to kind of see what the news is in timetables. But I think he's going to be a drop probably next week, unfortunately, because I think that you're just going to shut him down for a while, and then he's going to ramp back up. The Dodgers, you think the Dodgers will still make the playoffs even with these injuries, but I think he's going to end up being a drop here in this next week, unfortunately, which really sucks because that's a tough one to lose.
Oh, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And to be clear for people who don't play in the NFBC, we don't have IL spots. So
right,
obviously, if you have an IL spot,
sure,
move them there. Yeah. And if you have two of them and you've got 5 injured players, that's when obviously it's a lot tougher of a call. Yeah. I think his upside's worth it, but then maybe I'd play the waiting game for another week, but I don't know. It's also tough to go at the dead spot there too.
Yeah, I'm probably just because he's so good and valuable, I'm probably going waiting game for a week and just kind of see what we get. Maybe we'll get some more info. But yeah, rotator cuff is not good for a pitcher on his pitching arm. That is really not solid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who is solid, Jeff? 2 more home runs tonight. Royce Lewis is this dude's unbelievable. I know he always gets hurt. I know when he's going to get hurt at some point again, but man, he's hitting .390 with 7 home runs in 47 plate appearances. This dude just flat out rakes. It's he's fun to watch, man. Can we just get some health for like a couple months because dude is awesome. He's
a cheat code. He is so good. I think he might be from the Mike Trout school, unfortunately there, but we'll see. I mean, the thing is with him, with Royce Lewis, that he had those 2 freak injuries. First of all, slipping on the ice while shoveling. That was the first injury, and that led to everything else being unstable. The second one was colliding with the wall when they had him trying to play out of position so they could get him to the majors quicker because they already had a shortstop and they already had a third baseman.
That's when he hurt his knee, right? Was the wall?
Yeah. Yep.
And then obviously this one was running first to third, and it was the thigh there, but. Man, he is awesome. And his home runs are jacked too. There's not a lot of wall scrapers out of Royce Lewis. He just hits bombs. It's been fun. I have him on a couple teams, and it was really fun to slide him in. It's been a fun ride. I just hope he's healthy. It's good for baseball. He's a fun young player. The Twins are playing a lot better. Granted, it helps when you play the A's because the A's are an absolute abomination of a baseball team. But the Twins are coming on. They're making a little bit of noise in the Central there, and it seems like it's directly correlated with Royce Lewis in the lineup. They're just a lot better.
Of course. Yeah. It makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah. It does not apply to Simeon Woods Richardson. Anytime I keep him active, he's going to be terrible. Anytime I bench him, he gets a win. It's pretty awesome. Start him against the A's, right? Nope. He fell in love with the number 4, unfortunately, within 3 innings. It was 4 walks, 4 runs, 4 hits, I think 4 earned. It was bad. It was really bad. It might have been 6 hits just to be different and special, but yeah, it's not about me. So we'll move on. The Twins are playing better ball.
Yeah, he problem with Richardson, he just has a lot of outings that don't go 5 innings. He had a lot of Zambranos out there, a lot of 4 1/3, 4 2/3.
Yep.
He only has 2 wins. He's only got more than 4. He's only got 6 innings twice. He only has 2 wins all year, which is tough for a pretty good team. And he has pitched pretty well, but it's just hard to get wins when you pitch 4 or 5 innings every time.
It is.
Yeah. Jeff, Austin Riley might be awake. Finally, we've been waiting a long time for this. Homered all 3 games this weekend. It's been a weird thing with Riley because, you look at all his metrics and they all kind of look the same as last year. You figure this was coming. But, I know it's only one weekend and only a 6 home runs still, but man, it was good to see him finally get going this weekend.
Yeah. Tragically, his hitting coach got killed in a car accident yesterday.
Dude, that was a wild story. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah. I don't know. No way to pivot from that. So I'll just move on about Riley himself. It was kind of a weekend where a lot of the slumpers were starting to come around. And, you kind of wonder if, hey, maybe just the non-injured slumpers, at least, were starting to come around. Some homers hit by some of these guys, and Riley kind of leading the way there. It's funny. We spent time earlier in the week, Fred and I on Tuesday, and then on Thursday again, a little bit with Kev Masterejan. We're talking about, of the struggling Braves, which one are you most worried about? And they both said Riley, which was interesting. And so, of course, he heard him, responded well to tough love. Yeah. I like it.
I like that Riley's strikeout rate is not up. I like this hard contact the same as it was last year. A little more swing and miss, but for the most part, there's not like a, oh my gosh, this is why he's struggling sort of thing. It just hasn't worked out. It seems like when he hits the ball hard, he's hitting ground balls. When he hits the ball in the air, it's not hard. So I think that's going to revert. And I just think he's so good that you're talking 33, 38, 37 home runs last year. I think he's just going to get really hot. I don't know if he'll get to quite that number. Just, when you hit 3 home runs in the first 2 months, it's really hard to catch up. But I think the last 3 months are going to be really good for Riley. I'm not overly worried, and I have been overly worried. Well, I admit it's been really frustrating.
Yeah, it has. And you're right. You're not going to catch up when you have 3 homers over the first 2 months. Ironically, and Michael Harris is now not going to catch up. We'll get to him later. But, both of these guys struggled madly last year, too. And we kept it. And you know what? At the beginning of the season, then they recovered and had massive second halves.
Yeah.
I had those guys at those draft spots last year, yet we still drafted them at those spots. I mean, we as a collective whole, they didn't drop at all.
Nope. Well, I mean, Riley's year ended up really, really good overall, and Harris did not drop at all, and I thought he would a little bit, but he was even moving up the draft season too.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of main event draft boards, that third round was rather trappy. If you got Gunnar Henderson, you're winning at life. But there is Lindor, who struggled early on. There's Pete Alonso, who's been underperforming to a certain extent, maybe a little bit better lately.
Yeah, five RBI today, which was nice.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, my friend. But some others, I mean, in there too, though. I mean, you look at some of the others in that third round at range. It was really tough. Some of the players that also went in that range. Luis Robert got hurt. CJ Abrams has been pretty good, but
Bo Bichette's done nothing pretty much.
Bo Bichette's been horrible. Yeah. And you keep going down, like, because I was kind of doing that wistful, okay, what if I had really gone Gunnar and X? And I really had a hard time solving for X. Yeah. I was like, who was a realistic other choice in the third round? Can't just say, here's the next most valuable pick. You have to kind of look and say, okay, of the guys I was realistically choosing from, who could have been a good option? Michael Harris?
The answer is Tarek Skubal, right?
No, he was gone.
Oh, he was gone. He went in the third round in my main event, so I was just looking at names.
Skubal and Glasnow were gone before I even had a chance to pick them.
Yeah, Glasnow was gone by that point. I'm just looking at names there. Yeah, I guess if you go one of the closers, that hasn't worked either. Like Hader and Diaz have not performed that spot. Zach Gallen's hurt. You're right. There's not a. There's there are a lot.
Nutter was great, and he belongs there. But Luis Robert might be great the rest of the way. Royce Lewis might be great the rest of the way, but you've already missed so much time there.
Yeah.
Edwin Diaz has been a disaster. He's coming around now. Corey Seager's been hurt twice. Vlad's been terrible. I mean, you keep looking. I think I raved about what a bargain Vlad was in our draft at 314, and well, there's a reason he was a bargain apparently. I mean, and not that I did any better, but I'm just saying it's just kind of crazy. Like that third round was really trappy.
And like about once every 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, here comes Vlad. He's finally turning it on. And then you're like, he hits like a 480-foot bomb. You're like, oh, here it comes. And then it's just kind of not there. It's tough.
Yeah.
So it was funny that I was watching SportsCenter earlier. They were talking about the National League kind of standings. And the National League wild card is absolute mayhem. It's teams 2 through 9 are separated by like a game and a half. It is unbelievably tight. Again, after the Braves were kind of a step ahead of these other teams, you got the Nationals, you got the Mets, Cardinals, Pirates, Reds, Cubs, Padres, D-backs, and Giants. There's 9 teams in that mix for, I guess, 2 spots. You just kind of consider the Braves grabbing,
And the Braves are flawed.
Yeah, the Braves are flawed too. I would say they're better than the teams I just listed, but you're right. They have not been playing well. But if you just stick the Phillies and Braves in, there's going to be 2 other teams that make it, and it is a utter mayhem. It's all these teams, but the Rockies and Marlins are actually in this race. It's wild.
It's insane. The Mets Mets have won 5 in a row. They're still 4 under 500, but they've rallied to put themselves in a position. The Reds had the similar rally a couple weeks ago. They ran into their nemesis, the Brewers, this weekend, so they dropped 2 of the 3. But they're plus 13. You look at the like ESPN standings. Do you run differential positive green and negative red? And the wild card standings are just a sea of red in the National League. There's the Braves that are plus 37, the Padres plus 16. The Diamondbacks are somehow plus 3 after after just pounding the White Sox this weekend. And then the Reds are somehow plus 13, but everybody else is negative, including the Cardinals, who are currently the number 2 wild card, not the number 3. They're the number 2, and they're minus 38 on the year. They're this year's Marlins. Yeah,
they've been coming on a little bit though. They were really bad early, and they've been playing a lot better lately. But they just don't score runs. They're at 269 runs, which is the second worst in the National League, trailing only the Marlins, who just are horrendous. But you look at their runs scored. They're ahead of the A's in the American League, and they're ahead of the White Sox. But that's it. I mean, they're the worst run scoring team in baseball right now.
Yeah, they are. They're really bad.
Yeah. I'm laughing. Our friend Anthony Gialdi mixed up Royce Lewis and Royce Freeman in the chat, so that's what I was laughing at earlier. Is that we had a Royce Freeman reference, which I didn't.
And an Eric Piatkowski reference, but wasn't really Eric Piatkowski. That was the Polish rifle reference. So don't worry, you didn't miss anything there.
It's good there.
Here's what this is what we've done so far. In case you are joining in late, so little bit of things that we'll be putting chapters in later after the fact. So there you go.
Before we get into more news and notes, just a quick look ahead of this week. Big week from Colorado. They've got 7 home games in Colorado, starting to warm up a little bit too, which usually we see some run scoring there. The Rockies have 4 against the Dodgers and 3 against the Nationals. Should be a fun week in Coors Field. I imagine a lot of people were trying to figure out ways to get some players here with the all home week. A lot of Rockies available. Dodgers, not really have available. There's very few Nats you could pick up, but there were like 4 or 5 Rockies. It's a big week in Coors Field this week.
Yeah, I found myself bidding on a couple of these jabronis, but I mean,
there were like 5 or 6 of them. We'll get to when we talk FAAB. They're all bad, but someone's gonna get warm and score some runs there. You saw Pittsburgh went in there this weekend. There was some runs scored this weekend, so it's starting to get there. But it's just funny that we have a team that plays in such a great home park for offense, but they have so many guys available because they play platoon, they mix and match, and like you said, none of them are really good.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: knowing that the Rockies' offense is what we clinically like to call not good. Are you starting Bobby Miller in his first game off the IL when he's had shaky rehab appearances so far? Are you starting him against the Rockies on Wednesday?
I knew that question was coming, and I'm not going to give you the, depends who else I have answer. In a 15-teamer, unless I'm really stacked in pitching, I'm starting him at 12-teamer. I'm sitting him.
Yeah, I think I don't have him anywhere. I still have some Bobby Miller FOMO. And by the way, his status now becomes much more important.
You really have Bobby Miller FOMO?
Yeah, because I think he's going to be awesome.
You can have all of my Bobby Millers if you want them so far. If you trade me, someone else has been good for 3 months.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying I want him the rest of the way, and I can't have him.
I hope it's good, but what you said earlier is probably the most important. I mean, he's not looked good in his rehab outings. It's been short outings. He has not pitched really well. The velo is down in the 3rd outings, which is why they had him do another one. It's just it's tough. I think I'm looking at the team I have him now in a 15-teamer right now. And it probably comes down to like him or like a semi-closer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough call, like a Jeff Hoffman, or I picked up Nate Pearson this week with Yimi Garcia getting hurt. I think I'm gonna start. It's funny because I have Garrett Cole in that team too, so I got to figure out whether to start Cole this week if he's going to end up getting a start too.
I think the second you find out that he's getting the start, you start him.
I agree there. I think that I think he's going to slot in, although it's against Baltimore, who murdered Zach Wheeler today.
Yeah, they did. See also weather heating up on the West Coast.
They just freaking hit, man. I tell you, Baltimore's fun.
Yeah. I think I would. And I think when you come to the realization too that the free agent market for pitchers this week was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. That you I think you probably take the chance. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm leaning definite yes on Cole if he's starting. I'm leaning 50-50 on Miller at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
I think at Coors hasn't looked great, and he's Garrett Cole, so like if I have him, I'm starting him. I think.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question though. Which do you scares you more? I mean, at least the ones at Coles in Yankee Stadium. I mean, home start at least.
Never thought you'd be like, oh, at least in Yankee Stadium, that's good. Yeah. And Baltimore's a good place to pitch, but the Orioles just rake there. They're so good.
Yeah.
We mentioned the Rockies 7 games this week. Milwaukee and the Padres also play 7 this week. Just a note for teams, if you're playing like a weekly league, we got to set it now. The Angels only play 5 games this week. They have a 2-game series over the weekend with the Dodgers. The Angels and Dodgers don't play Sunday. Are they playing somewhere else?
This is because they're playing 4 games total. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the Reds and Guardians played 2 games earlier in the week this week. And, it's your rival, so you play them twice, home and away.
No Sunday is weird though.
It is. It's either that or no Friday. I mean,
I guess either way, they're both kind of weird. Yeah. So just a note there, especially if you play NFBC leagues, just know the Dodgers and Angels play 2 next week. So that's a pretty big deal with everybody else playing 3. We mentioned the Dodgers injuries. We have a lot of other stuff that happened this week. Corbin Carroll, who has been rough most of the year, has warmed up a little bit this month. He's in like 280 in June as we're after hitting 200 or below the first couple of months. Having an MRI Monday, looks like he did something to his side, but he's having an MRI on Monday. I'm definitely worried about this one.
Yeah, I am too. And it's we're getting a lot of these now, and that one, the Sunday injury is the worst too. But I kind of joked half joked that maybe it's best for him, but no, not 6 weeks.
No, I mean it's an oblique, and it's something that we don't think that's been bugging him. And I just feel like you got 2 months of bad, and he was finally starting to warm up, and it finally seemed like he was like finally getting going a little bit. You could see him hit the ball better, and now you're going to lose him, and you obviously eat those first 2 months. Now you don't get potentially what could have been a turnaround. If he misses a bunch of time, that's rough right there.
It is.
You mentioned Michael Harris earlier, going on the IL with a grade 2 hamstring strain. Grade 2 is not great. Seems like we're going to be without Michael Harris for quite a while here.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I saw something that it's going to be 4 to 8 weeks on him, but don't quote me on that. I guess I'm just saying it, so you probably are going to quote me on that, but I'm not sure, is my point. I just saw that it's probably worse than your basic minimum trip, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, talk about someone that you're hoping to get warm here, and you've eaten the bad 2 months. He has 5 home runs and 8 stolen bases. Not the end of the world, but not great where you picked. He's hitting 250. Another guy that you kind of thought was going to get going, and now you don't get that going. That's the worst when you get bad performance and then you get the injury.
Yeah, exactly. And you wonder if he's been hiding it all along and, trying to play through. And you hear that all the time. It's like, oh, he's a warrior. He's doing it for the team. No, you're hurting the team by doing that. But anyway, at least if you're not disclosing, if you disclose and play through it, okay, it's a little different. Then the team can help you make that decision. But so many times they I just thought I could pitch through it. No, don't.
Yeah, they just kept coming this weekend. I know we had a lot of injuries this year, but I felt like this weekend was just a lot of big names, which is never a good time. Tonight in the Yankees Red Sox game, Anthony Rizzo too got injured, a right lower arm injury. Having imaging tomorrow, that was a tough one because it was the Sunday night game. Rizzo has not been especially good either, so I don't know how much you're counting on him. But deeper league, obviously he was a starting first baseman. He's only hitting 226, so it's been a rough year for Rizzo. Hard contacts down, just hasn't done much. The strikeouts are down too. It just seems like he's just making contact, but nothing, no hard or loud contact. But he's having an MRI on Monday, so that's another one that could be bad too.
Yeah, for sure. And they're off on Monday too, of course. So just to make things worse, they start that big series against Baltimore on Tuesday. They get Baltimore and Atlanta coming to town.
Is that a fun week for the Yankees right there?
Yeah, it is. A big week for that. And then the following week they get 2 games against the Mets, and then 2 road games against the Mets, and then 4 at Toronto. So big couple of weeks, and he just obviously finished off a Boston series too. So a lot of stuff going on for the Yanks right now. Yeah,
and they're a game and a half ahead of the Orioles. So this is it's June, but this is a pretty big series in baseball.
It is. Speaking of the Orioles, how about Kyle Bradish?
Excellent segue. Kyle Bradish, 15-day IL with a right UCL strain. Obviously, this one's really bad because this is what he had earlier on in the year. Did all the rehab, came back, pitched really well. My question for you, Jeff, right now, is he a drop everywhere?
It's a wait a week thing.
Okay.
For me, I want to get an official prognosis on how long he's going to be out. I know it's a UCL, strain or sprain? I read strain. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to know, they just wanted to calm down because he pitched through 5. He was shaking his arm, but he shakes his arm all the time, we're told. Yeah. Was the sarcasm coming through there? But I think
I just think second time is really bad this year.
It is scary, and it's probably going to end up being surgery of some sort. But wait this week because if it is just 3 or 4 weeks, I'd want to hold him.
16 drops for Bradish in the main event. So
okay.
It was one. There actually was a bunch where there was none for Yamamoto. Again, I was wrong on that one. There were 16 for Bradish. I think I agree with you. I think I'd probably wait a week, but I am pretty sure he's going to drop kind of a certain drop next week.
But we're having so many of these guys in 1 week that you may not be able to hold on to everyone.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to hold on to everybody. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in a drop pretty quick.
I think you're probably right about that.
However, it does make it so Cade Povich slides easier into the rotation. They also have Dean Kramer coming back, but I really liked how Povich pitched on last Wednesday against the Braves. I watched a bunch of that game. Braves, Orioles is a fun series too. I was pretty impressed by Povich. The fastball is not great, but his secondary stuff's really nice. He had guys looking pretty bad. I was impressed by that outing.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of composure second time out. I was impressed as well. And they get Dean Kramer back on Sunday, I think, too. So they're going to still have a 6-man rotation.
And so Suarez has pitched so well, like it's hard to take him out too.
Yeah. It goes Suarez and Povich, though, to start that series against the Yankees. It's Suarez, Povich, Irvin. It's not exactly how they wanted it to line up. Instead of Grayson and Burns and Bradish, for that matter, nope, it's their lesser 3 and then soon to be a lesser 4. I'm curious to see if they stick 6-man or if they eventually pivot to a 5-man rotation at some point. Or I still think the O's should probably upgrade their pitching in time for the playoffs, because I think that's where it matters, where you don't want those guys as your like number 3 playoff starter, or at the very least lengthen your bullpen. I think that's the more likely path, because I don't know what starters are going to be available, but it's something at least I just don't be disappointed if it's less than you think it's going to be, and it happens at the trade deadline and not sooner.
Yeah, I think Povich's start on Wednesday is actually pretty important. I think if he pitches well again, I think that Cole Irvin's the one that goes to the bullpen when Kramer comes back. If they go back to 5-man, if Povich gets smoked by the Yankees, then maybe they stick with the more veteran arm. But I think the start's pretty big. If he picked up Povich, I think this Wednesday start is really important for him sticking. I think that he could another couple of good starts. I think he could stick long term too.
Yeah, and it's not like their schedule eases up after the Yankee series. They get at Houston versus Cleveland versus Texas after this.
Oh, that's a fun stretch for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Love it. Yimi Garcia, who has been pitching really well for Toronto since our friend Jordan Romano went on the IL. Yimi's been pitching well there, but left early on Sunday with the trainer. I read it was right shoulder tightness. That I believe that's what I saw.
Elbow, but either way.
Was it elbow? You're right. I'm sorry. Elbow. Elbow tightness. Obviously not ideal for a pitcher in any way, shape, or form. Did you do anything in terms of picking up? Other guys, we'll talk about pickups later, but did you?
Yeah.
Are you Nate Pearson? Are you Chad Green? I don't. Who knows? I mean,
I added Pearson because he was there, got the save, and Green pitched early, and he's been pitching early.
Green got some saves early on, but they seem to have been like using him in kind of that 6th, 7th, 8th inning role more. I kind of leaned Pearson a little bit, but I admit I wouldn't be surprised with either guy. Either guy stepping up.
Because we picked up Pearson, I expect it to be Green, and I would have the other way around. I'll get some gallows humor here, but you and I share our Romano interest, and I mean, hell, we're using. We're desperate for a second closer right now. We're currently using what's his face from Colorado. I broke my never Rockies rule. Tyler Kinley.
Oh, I was gonna say Beeks, but you're at Kinley. Kinley's had like 3 or 4 saves.
The last 3 outings have been saves until today, when he pitched in an 8-1 deficit because he hadn't pitched since like Wednesday. Boy, is that
a duck and cover moment when your closer comes in Colorado. In 8-1, yeah, you're just like I can't watch that. That is one you definitely don't watch right there.
Yeah.
But Kinley's actually been pretty decent. I know he gave up a couple runs against Minnesota his last outing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he converted 3 saves in a row.
He gave up a 2-run homer in that one, and he also gave up like a line out, but he also got 2 Ks. So okay. But I don't know if I'm going to use him this week.
His ERA is only 8.1 on the year, so I should say he's been okay lately with a great assault.
What's a few runs allowed between friends? But
50% swing strike rate though, not bad.
Yeah, there's some positive things. I think he's better an option. Going back to the Blue Jays, though, Billy Hayes asks, do you think Romano is close? I saw a note from, I think, Friday that he's still playing catch, that he's not yet pitching, let alone on a rehab assignment. So I'm figuring it's at least another 2 weeks is my guess. So I think it's worth pursuing somebody from Toronto in that stretch.
I do too, and I think it's gonna. The fact that it's the second time it's happened, I think they're going to be even more careful about it this time. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I would say I'd say we're looking at July for sure.
Yeah. So I think I'm probably going to go ahead and use Pearson this week in the league where I got him.
Yeah, I think I probably will find a way to do the same. A positive injury note, Jeff. We do have one. Philadelphia Trea Turner is being reinstated on Monday. So if you have Trea Turner, get him back in your lineup. I'm looking forward to doing that. A couple other bad news ones. Jordan Wicks, we mentioned the Cubs. He went on the IL with an oblique strain. I think that's long enough. The quotes I read were negative. I think he's pretty easy to drop.
Great too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was excited about him too, coming back. And Ben Brown won the IL and it kind of opened that spot for Wicks. Those guys were kind of fighting for that fifth spot, but then Wicks got hurt too. Kyle Harrison, 15-day IL with an ankle sprain for the Giants there. Henry Davis, 7-day concussion IL. It's a tough one there. I kept Davis in one league, and I'm just going to use him because it's only 7-day. I want to give it a week and see what happens. But the concussions one could be 7 days. It could be 4 or 5 weeks. You just never know. There's so much to figure out.
Well, and you don't want to carry 3 catchers. Yeah. I think that's the real problem there too.
If there had been a mildly interesting one, I would have probably forced it. But with 7-day IL, I was looking at really meager options. I'm gonna stomach it for a week and see where I am next week.
Yeah. Well, I have news for you on the catcher front. Quest to drop Bo Naylor has been achieved. So.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to hearing who you picked up later.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. Bo Bichette, what do you think about his calf soreness injury here?
Yeah, I don't love that. He missed the weekend. It's been a rough year for Bichette, and you just hate someone that, you're hoping for some stolen base love there. He has the calf soreness. I'm always worried about calf injuries. They seem to linger. I saw that the manager said he's iffy for Monday. We hope it's not too much longer was the quote. So that is one that you just gotta check the news and see what's going on with Bichette in the morning. Are there any day games tomorrow, Jeff?
No, there are not. 6:40 is the first game.
That helps the cause right there. So you'll be able to get a lineup with Bichette. I think that's one of those. If he plays Monday, obviously he's in. If he doesn't play Monday, though, I'm sitting in the first half of the week in an NFBC type format. I'm just gonna not take the risk there. I know that maybe you miss a couple games of Bichette right there, but I'm not risking that one.
No, I'm not either. But you know what? Yeah, good luck finding a replacement, though. That's the problem, as always. If you already have Bo Bichette.
It is always the problem. Willson Contreras, good news here. Likely to begin a rehab assignment on Tuesday. It was funny. That news came out, and I figured there'd be heavy bidding this week where he's available. There was some heavy bidding. He went for like $200-something in my online championship. I had a pretty decent bid on him, in like the 30s or 40s, and I was very, very, very far down, but I was the backup bid, but not close to getting him.
Yeah, it's always good to double, triple check some of these names on the waiver wire before you go to bidding too.
Especially in the 12 teamers, there's some guys that can kind of linger down there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Couple guys who are close to returning. Ty France sounds like he's only going to miss the minimum. I think that he was dropped in a lot of leagues. People thought he'd be out for a longer stretch of time there. Brandon Drury, who had an awful start to the year for the Angels. I had him on multiple teams. It was really ugly. He played his first game in the field earlier this weekend, so he seems like he's almost ready to come back from his hamstring injury too.
Yeah, that's right. How about, you mentioned Willson Contreras? What about William Contreras?
So did he get a concussion today, or
getting checked for? He's getting checked for a concussion.
Was that for that hit? That was the hit to play at the plate.
Yeah, right? Where Stuart Fairchild's slide caught, his shoulder caught the face mask there at the end.
That was to end the game, right?
End the game, which is ironic because the Reds benefited from a close play at the plate on Friday night.
I still can't believe Blake Perkins bunted that.
That whole finish was super bizarre. I mean,
the lip
Jake
readers.
Bowers, go ahead.
No, I said the lip reading of Pat Murphy in the dugout when Perkins bunted was there was a few F-bombs in there. He was not pleased by that decision.
No, and he kind of threw him under the bus afterwards. He kind of said, we're going to have a discussion on that, making sure that he didn't call for a bunt attempt of any form there. Yeah. Wild. And on the play at the plate, right immediately before that, Bauer's hand slid into the glove. I mean,
it did.
It was like one of those, okay, thanks. Pretty wild stuff there.
It was. That was a kind of a wild series. Have that many plays, and it's like a College World Series game, which every game is a walk-off, but it's crazy.
It is.
Josh Young starting a rehab assignment today, so he's getting close there too. Yu Darvish threw a bullpen on Friday. Doesn't think he'll need a rehab assignment. It's nice that he thinks that. We'll see what the team thinks about that one, but possibly get Darvish back this week too.
No player has ever thought he's going to need a rehab assignment if they had to make the decision.
Yeah, because they don't want to go to whatever city that is for a double-A start usually. But let's jump into FAAB. That's a lot of the injury stuff. But first, a note from our sponsors at DraftKings Pick 6. Do you ever play the over-under game with your friends? You know, think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds? Or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2 liter of soda. If you have, you're going to love the Pick 6, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, or more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers. Play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. 1 per new customer, non-withdrawable. Pick 6 credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in states including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. So Jeff, let's go starting pitchers because you mentioned it was rough. It was rough out there. There were some rookie or young guy names. I'm just going to throw a few at you, see what you think about them. We had Drew Thorpe, who was called up late last week and was available this week, but got smoked today by the Diamondbacks. Drew Thorpe is the White Sox pitcher. We had Jonathan.
No, not Gil Thorpe, by the way.
Not Gil Thorpe.
There's a reference that
college. He's like a broadcaster, right?
No, it's a cartoon strip. Old-timey cartoon strip.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Gil Brandt, maybe?
Maybe.
Jonathan Cannon, White Sox pitcher, was available. We mentioned Cade Povich earlier. He was 81% rostered in the main event, only 22% in 12-teamers. Yariel Rodriguez in Toronto, and DJ Hers, who pitched really well in Washington. So there's like 5 names in there. Carson Spiers also in Cincinnati. I'll let you talk about him. How'd you kind of rate these guys? I had a lot of trouble kind of figuring out who I liked more, who I liked less, looking at matchups, looking at kind of long-term thing. What'd you like in this group? Because you mentioned there weren't a lot of like obvious ones, but there were a lot of names that like could emerge, got some talent here, but obviously sketchy. You know, you saw Drew Thorpe got smoked by the Diamondbacks today. So you're always entering in some risk with some of these guys, but who'd you like in this group?
I picked up Cade Povich in a 12. I think it was a 12.
I mean, that's obviously my answer. I picked him up twice last week in the 15-teamers for pretty good prices. I like him a lot. But I think he's a 12-team viable guy.
Yep.
I
obviously don't like starting against the Yankees, but still, I like the talent. The others, I stayed away from the White Sox guys because it's just the White Sox, and
it's all my starting pitchers are White Sox. It's fine.
Yeah, so you're doing really well on wins, I imagine. Then
you should see my wins. It's rough. And Eric Fetty got another one blown this week by Michael Kopech.
Of course,
every time Kopech, I'm just like turn it off. It was 4-0 when he left too, and I'm like, oh, it's got to be fine. It's the 8th inning. No. Like 4 minutes later, his win was gone. It was
kind of like Justin Steele the other day against the Rays, and it's gone.
Yeah, so fast. You watch the game for an hour and 45 minutes, and he's dealing up 4-0, and 4 minutes later, it's totally gone. Yeah. But I was kind of interested by Jonathan Cannon. I saw he's got some good stuff here, like 11.5% swing strike rate. Pitched fairly well in the minors in 2023 in the A-ball, but then struggled in Double-A. So I was a little worried at the minors numbers, but he's got 2 starts this week. But I think one of them's against Houston, maybe. Yeah, one against Houston, and then at Detroit over the weekend. But what do you think about Carson Spiers in Cincinnati? He's going to pitch Monday, so he should get 2 starts this week. First one's at Pittsburgh, like that. Second one's against Boston in Cincinnati. Don't like that as much. But what do you feel about Spiers as kind of a guy? You think he could stick for a while?
Well, they sent down Graham Ashcraft, which I thought was interesting. I don't know what to make out of Spiers. I mean, it was a really encouraging outing against the Cubs last Sunday. It's hard to overlook that with all the strikeouts that he got, especially. Will he be stretched out? I don't know. Will the Reds score enough runs? He's going up against Skeens tomorrow. Don't love that.
Fun matchup, though.
Yeah, the Pirates pushed Skeens back a day, so he didn't have to pitch in Coors Field and play. So he would pitch in a divisional matchup, gets an extra day of rest. They still won the game regardless, so it's a win-win-win for them. I had him in my waterfall, but that's about it. That's what I did with most of these guys. Same with Yariel Rodriguez. I got Povich in a 12. And the 15s, man, Scott, it was just really tough to find guys that I really liked. I got lucky in Scarf that Michael Lorenzen was available, so I was pretty aggressive getting him.
Lucky in a little bit of quotes there.
I mean, look at all the pitchers out there. I mean, he's way better than those guys.
His ERA, his numbers are crazy. His ERA is like 2.86, but then you look at like everything else and it scares the hell out of me. But he just kind of finds a way to make it work. I mean, strikeout rate is not there. Walk rate's way up. Every time I look at him, I'm like,
true.
I don't know.
He's a little Texan for James Paxton. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I like that. BABIP's 232, strand rate's 86%. It's coming for Lorenzen at some point, but I kind of thought that last year, and he pitched really well for most of the year. I mean, the ERA is like 4.1, which was workable for him. 153 innings. But yeah, he scares me, but he just kind of always finds a way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, let's face it, it's not like I had great options. Scarf is a 15-teamer also, so you're not finding good pitching out there. And in fact, my particular league, I think, has been very sharp. It makes me feel better that I'm getting beat by them, so I call them very sharp. But they've been beating me in FAAB in particular too. So I feel like I'm happy to get somebody. At least he's got some talent there. So we'll see about that.
I'd like to go back to Spiers. I do like he pitched. He came in when Montas pitched like an inning, a third, and had to leave. He pitched 5 2/3 against the Cubs. 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 4 hits, no earned runs. He hasn't walked anybody in he's watched 1 guy in his last 4 outings over. Do the math there. About 15. About 15 innings. So pretty good K to walk there. I don't know. I'm kind of mildly interested in Spiers. What do you think about DJ Hers, though? We talked about him. Paul and I talked about him a little bit last week. We both kind of agreed that the walks in the minors kind of scared the crap out of us. But
he turns around and dominates. I was going to say,
made us look bad. Had 13 strikeouts this week against it was Miami, who is just horrendous. But 13 strikeouts in 6 innings and 1 hit and no walks. Like, he was nasty this week.
He was, and now he goes to Coors Field, which then again, all these Pirates pitchers got by just fine doing that there. I may regret not getting DJ Hers because I didn't want to start him in Coors Field, but maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive. He was a waterfall guy that I didn't get. I know, like in some of the leagues I'm in, that Hurts was kind of higher on the list for people to pick up. It wasn't for me, but I can see it.
He's fun. He's got a ton of swing and miss. I think the walks are just going to be too much for me. He was at 19% in AAA this year. I mean, that is a massive number right there. But you look at the swing and strike rate throughout the minors, we're talking numbers in the 15s, 16s. There's an 18 in there somewhere. There's a bunch of 15s. Like, he definitely has the stuff to make us swing and miss. But I think there's going to be too many guys on base. I think major league hitters are going to make him pay. That start this week against the Marlins is really good. But I agree with you. I kind of pulled back. The walks just scare the crap out of me.
Yep, they do. They do. But he has a chance to kind of establish himself in this rotation.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, the Nats, they're going to get Josiah Gray back at some point in time, sometime soon, I think, in fact. And when they do, then they have to decide who's going to be out. And it's probably not going to be the guy that deserves to be out, Patrick Corbin, because of the contract. Yeah. But
what's funny is the other guys, it's kind of a fun, like between Parker, Mackenzie Gore, and Jake Irvin, like those 3 guys they've been really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
We talked about the Mets getting hot. I mean, the Nationals are right there with them. They've had a really good run here. They've won 8 of the last 10. They're one of those National League teams in the mix. They've won 3 in a row. Nats are quietly playing pretty good baseball. There's a team we did not expect that from.
You start Jake Irvin in his 2-step this week, home against Arizona at Colorado.
Yep.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
I need wins.
I do too. That second start, you probably just don't watch it, but I know Coors Field and it's warming up. The Rockies are still pretty bad, though. I think that I feel better about starting a pitcher against the Rockies than for the Rockies for sure. I think I'm starting at 2 starts with how he's pitched this year.
Watch this be the week that like Hunter Goodman hits 7 homers or something like that. But
catcher Hunter Goodman.
Yeah, not quite, but yes.
Yeah.
Not for our purposes, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, he caught twice this week, but yeah, no, not for eligibility purposes quite yet. But anybody else you liked? Tobias Harris in Milwaukee has 2 starts this week.
Tobias Myers, dude. You said Tobias Harris.
Yeah. And it's still
because Hogan Harris is next on our list, and there's a Tobias Harris that exists in sports.
Yep. NBA's still going on. I'm still all right.
At least you didn't say Tobias Funke. So I mean, it
that would have been good too. Yes, Tobias Myers, 61% rostered in the main event at LA and at San Diego. Every time I look at Myers, I kind of like the stuff, and I look deeper and I get less interested. But you mentioned Hogan Harris, pitching for the A's. He got 2 starts this week against Kansas City and Minnesota. He kind of feels like a landmine to me. I feel like something bad's coming here. He's pitched pretty well, but he does not one I feel good about.
Yeah, I thought about putting him higher and then hoping Hogan could be a hero for us, but instead thought it's the same thing, that it could be a landmine. So I kind of just put him deep on my list and didn't get him.
Any thoughts on Carlos Rodriguez, another young guy who's has been called up here?
I'm sure if I picked him up, he would have gotten bombed. But now that I didn't, he might be okay. He gets 2 steps also this week. I'd rather face the Padres in San Diego than in Milwaukee, though.
Agreed.
So there is that, but I just don't see the depth for him. He went 3 2/3, 71 pitches in his last outing. I see that as an issue.
That was my biggest thing with Rodriguez too. And then also just the minor league stuff has not been great. A lot of walks. It was, the ERA was over 5 in AAA. I found it hard to get really excited about him.
Yeah. I hear you on that. But I did pick up Alec Marsh in a 12.
All right.
Which I'm happy to do so. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. Even when the Yankees were pounding the Royals, Marsh still pitched very well against them. In fact, I think he threw 7 shutout innings, took a no-hitter into the 7th against them. So, yeah, I'm kind of a believer in Alec Marsh and happy to find him there.
He's a guy who has had some flashes, but now he's cut the walks, and it's just been huge. His walk rate's down 4% from last year. The strikeouts are down a little bit, but still decent at 22.5%. Whip is really nice. The lack of walks has really helped the whip out. He's just been really just kind of solid. I mean, I don't think he's not going to dominate, but I think that's in a 12-teamer. I think that's viable. And a 15-teamer, he's like kind of an every week start kind of guy.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing is, Todd Zola makes this point all the time that because the ball's not traveling as much, he's just going to kind of rely on the guys that don't walk anybody.
Yeah,
I think that's a good starting point there.
Yeah, not putting guys on base is important, especially when that's one of our 5 roto categories too. What about relievers this week? I feel like it's been a rough patch for relievers. We had some interesting options this week. Probably number one is, and I want to get your read on the situation. Ryan Stanek in Seattle had 3 saves in the last 8 days. Andres Munoz has had this back issue, and he's still been pitching, but since he had the back issue, they've been kind of careful with him, not pitching him as much. He pitched a little bit earlier. Stanek had 3 saves recently. How do you do you have any sort of feel for this or what you think is going to happen? It just seems like it's just kind of all over the place at the moment. But Stanek had 3 saves. I said the last 8 days. That's 3 saves in the last 5 days.
I am so frustrated because we had him earlier in the year when they were playing these reindeer games before. But now I had since cut him. Someone else picked him up. And the thing is, like you said, with Munoz, it's on again, off again. For a while, Munoz was getting traditional closer usage.
That's too. The weirdest part is at the start of the year, he wasn't. And then there was a stretch there where he had, what was it? 8 saves in 3 weeks. And he was the guy in a traditional role. And then now, since he had the back issue, he's not. It's been very strange. It's
well,
really
I just think it's just they're just trying to protect him. That's all.
But do you protect? And they've had more, so many. Do you protect him more throwing him in the 7th or 8th than you do in the 9th?
Well, no, not really. But I just think one of them he pitched the 10th. When it was, I think when they Stanek might have even blown that one if I recall correctly. But I just think at some point it will revert back. I'm not really worried about him losing the job. I don't think this is a long-term thing. I think it might have just been the way the games have kind of played up. Plus, keep in mind, this was a huge series. They swept the Rangers at home. Yep. They put some distance on the Rangers. And every game has been close for a while. The Mariners have won a lot of games lately. And so that has something to do with it too. I think it'll revert back to, quasi-traditional usage. Scott Service has always been a bullpen ace sort of guy. So it's not like this is out of character for him using Munoz in that method. But I think it'll go back to something closer to where it was before the back issues cropped up. I think eventually, it may be a while, but I think you might be frustrated rostering Stanek too, because I don't think he's that good of a pitcher either.
Is that the sneakiest big division league in baseball? I don't think anybody knows that the Mariners have an 8.5 game lead in the West.
Yeah, that's right. Winning 3 directly against the Rangers is huge. The Astros keep doing things to themselves. I mean, Verlander misses a start, so Arrighetti gets pushed up a day and gets pounded by the Tigers.
Boy, did he get lit up. That one hurt because I had him a couple of leagues. He had 2 starts this week. You get the push up like last minute. He got smoked.
And I gotta wonder, how are the Astros going to go out and find pitching? I mean, they don't have a lot of prospects. They don't really have a lot of trade capital, and they've spent more money too. So I don't know if they can take on contracts like they have in the past either. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong, because I do like seeing teams compete. I want to see trades happen, but I know you don't hope I'm wrong because I know you hate the Astros. I just have a mild meh for them.
Yeah.
But
the one good news there is Hunter Brown seems to have really kind of figured it out. His last 5 starts have been really good, especially good this week. He had 7 shutout innings against Detroit, 9 strikeouts, was really good against the Angels prior to that. I know it's the Tigers and the Angels, but it seems like the 5-6 earned run games he's finally got past. It seems like he's finally the Hunter Brown that maybe a lot of people were drafting in April, and hopefully you held on to him, but he's really seemed to turn the corner.
Yeah, he has. But the Astros have to jump a lot of teams. They're currently 7 games out of the last wild card spot, which is the Twins at 40 and 32.
It's just so much different in the American League. It's crazy.
Yeah. Although it is, but it isn't. I mean, it is because it's the Twins have reached up there. They've won 5 in a row to get there. Prior to that, the third wild card was like a game or 2 over 500.
Yeah, because it's 8 now, and you look at the National League, like if you're 4 under, you're like a game and a half back. So yeah, the Astros have it's still June, but they got 9 games in the division is a pretty big margin right now.
It is. It really is.
I didn't know until today that Houston was quite that far ahead in the division. We kind of talked about the Toronto situation. I think you mentioned. I think I like Nate Pearson a little bit too, but it could be Chad Green. They went to Chad Green earlier, but I think the key point you made is I think that grabbing one of these guys is important because I think that we're probably a couple weeks. I have to assume with an elbow issue that Garcia goes in the IL for at least a couple weeks and Romano's a couple weeks away. One of these guys is probably going to end up with a few saves in Toronto.
Yeah, that's right. It might be full on committee. We could be speculating on Green versus Pearson. It's Miza, or he gets the first one because he's left-handed or something.
Yeah, it could strictly be leverage game situation kind of thing.
Yep.
What about in Chicago on the National League side? Hector Neris has been pretty rough lately. Gave up 4 runs against the Rays. They gave him a run against the Rays in the outing after that. He hasn't pitched in a few days. But I mean, his whip is 1.64. From a reliever, 60%, 6.5% strikeout rate. I know he's converted some saves, but it's right on the edge. You just can't put that many guys on base. Do you have a preference for anybody in Chicago who's up next? I think the consensus is probably Mark Leiter Jr., but what do you think about the Cubs bullpen moving forward here?
I'd feel better about the consensus if Leiter Jr. was actually good. He hasn't been that good yet either. And, he had a bad outing against Rays in the Justin Steele game.
Yeah.
Although it was fueled by a misplay by Patrick Wisdom, still somehow it was considered all 3 runs were earned for Leiter there. But, you look at Leiter, he's got a 137 whip.
Yeah.
That's good.
He's got a lot of the swing and miss, but the other stuff has not been good.
Yeah. A guy that might be sneaky, it could be Tyson Miller, who did get the 2-inning outing against the Cardinals on Saturday. He's bounced all over the league though, but 24-3 K to walk so far for Miller so far with the Cubs. So maybe, he might be something. Probably not, but I think what's really going to happen is the next best reliever is going to come from outside the organization if they can stay close enough to make that trade. I
was going to say there's going to be probably some as this stuff separates for the trade. There'll be some relievers available. Maybe Tanner Scott. I still don't think the A's are going to trade Mason Miller, although they might. But I'm thinking the teams they're out of it. But the Cubs, if in the mix, seem like a prime spot to grab a reliever.
Yeah. But they have to hang around. Their offense has quietly been terrible lately too. When Miles Michaelis shuts you down like he did today, that's your sign.
He had quite the 2-step this week. Miles Michaelis had 2 really good outings this week.
Yes, he did. I wouldn't count on it.
The Tyson Miller call is really interesting. You mentioned him earlier when we were talking before the podcast. I looked him up, and 26% strikeout at 3% walk rate. You mentioned the K to walks, really nice, 14% swing strike rate. So the strikeouts look real. I know the BABIP's crazy low, but he got a 0.69 whip in 25 innings. That jumps out as pretty significant. That's he's had a hell of a year so far.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Let's talk about hitters, but first a note from our sponsors at Home Run Forecast. Can certain weather conditions lead to more home runs? The atmosphere can affect how far a baseball flies by 20%. Home Run Forecast measures the weather conditions at a ballpark to tell us if the atmosphere is good or bad for ball flight during a game. An index value that rates the air is created for each game and ballpark and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10. Home Run Forecast premium site offers index values by the hour for each game, 24-hour forecast, wind direction, and speed, and even whether the roof will be open at certain stadiums. Home Run Forecast is offering a special for the start of the baseball season. You get access to the premium site for the entire season for only $28, a savings of nearly 30%. Go to homerunforecast.com/RotoWire to sign up now. Jeff, I thought hitting was, you mentioned pitching was bad. I thought hitting was rough this week. We mentioned earlier that there's a lot of potential Rockies available. There's a guy in the A's I want to talk about, but to me, there was a lot of about to come back from injury guys or guys in the minor leagues that I thought were interesting. Jordan Walker smoking the ball in AAA, his last 60 plate appearances for the Cardinals. I think that it's about time for that he's going to come back up. I think he's probably he's made some. It looks like he's made some adjustments. Maybe another shot up there. Eloy Jimenez is on his rehab assignment for the White Sox, so we got some there. We mentioned Willson Contreras. You got Lars Nootbaar, Brandon Drury, Lamont Wade. A lot of guys coming back. I think a lot of my bids this week were, maybe a week early on some of these guys, but trying to get maybe some of these guys for a little bit cheaper than they would be normally.
Yeah, I tried to do that with Kerry Carpenter in a league, although I didn't get him. I actually had someone that I prioritized before him, so he might still even be available, but believe it or not. But same sort of thing, not believe it or not, because he was cut in a lot of leagues for a reason because of that spinal strain or whatever he's got.
Right.
But yeah, I did find it, some tough things there. There was crappy Rockies. I got Jacob Stallings in a league. Bye Bo Naylor finally.
Jacob Stallings added. He was the fourth highest added player at 47 leagues added. So you were not alone there.
Yeah, that's cleanup hitter Jacob Stallings, by the way, for the paste eating Rockies. So 7
home games in course, Jeff.
Yes, sir. I'm not too proud.
Yeah.
And then I got to find somebody next week.
What do you think about Tyler Soderstrom in Oakland? Finally getting a lot of playing time. He's a pretty big prospect for the A's. He was a first round pick in 2020. He was 26th overall pick. Came up last year and was really rough. Hit a $160, struck out a ton. Still striking out a lot, but he's walking a bunch. He has a 13.5% walk rate. The power's starting to come on. He homered again today. He's got 5 homers now in 98 plate appearances, playing almost every day. He's sitting against a couple lefties, but I think with Soderstrom, you're probably okay with that. You probably don't want to eat those 0 for 4s anyway. But I thought if you needed home runs this week, he was the one bat that I thought was worth putting some bids on.
Yeah, I wish he were catcher eligible.
Yep, that would be nice.
Yeah, in fact, I kept on found myself looking for him among the catchers when I was trying to replace Naylor.
Yeah,
oh, that's right, he's only first base eligible.
Yep.
Darn it.
Shea Langoliers ruined the dream for us on that one.
Yeah, he sure did. And Soderstrom probably could have done himself better when he got called up too.
Yeah. But I mean, he had 20 home runs in A ball in 2022, 21 in 2023, and in AAA in only 77 games. I just think home runs have been tough to find. I got a number of leagues where I'm kind of down in home runs. I just think that I think he's playing every day. I think he's a pedigree guy. I was pretty interested in maybe kind of catch a hot streak here. I don't think we're looking at the batting average is going to be bad. He strikes out way too much, but I think the power. I think the power is real, and if you can eat the batting average, you need some power. I think he was a pretty interesting guy here.
If is doing a lot of work though. There,
it is.
The batting average is going to be really bad.
It's going to be. I don't think there's any way around that.
And unfortunately, as someone who already has picked up Adam Duvall, I that hasn't worked out, by the way, people.
A couple of home runs early, it looked really fun, and then it's been a rough stretch. He was pretty bad this week. Yeah,
I mean, he is hitting cleanup though when he plays sometimes.
Yeah.
At least he did in the nightcap today.
Yeah.
So.
I think he's just going to play. I think they're just going to put him in there for a while here. I don't think he's going. I mean, like I said, maybe get some tough lefties, but I think he's just going to get the A's they've lost 9 in a row. They're horrible. They might be the worst team in the entire league, and I say that knowing that the White Sox do have a way worse record. But the A's have pretty much the same record as the Rockies. They are 1% lower in winning percentage.
Yeah,
they're really, really bad, and they have no reason not to just play Soderstrom every day and kind of see what you got here.
That I agree with. And that's why, they sent Ryan Noda down for a reason. They sent Tyler Nevin down for a reason. The problem is, as Eddie was pointing it out in the chat room, he could be, Soderstrom could be down in AAA joining Tyler Nevin at some point too.
Absolutely. I think he's got a significantly higher power ceiling than anything Tyler Nevin had. The Tyler Nevin thing was always kind of weird to me.
That's true.
I just think he's a first-round pick. It's hard to find power right now. There's a lot of injury guys. We mentioned that, you maybe get some power from them, but playing every day. And I did kind of, I was probably the guy I was most interested in that was not a, coming back from injury kind of guy.
For sure.
Did you get anything with Adael Amador? Speaking of Rockies that were having 7 games this week, they called him up last week. He was called up last Sunday, so we talked about him a little bit last week, but he was not available in NFBC leagues. Did you do anything with Amador here? I saw he was picked up in a good number of leagues.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for him to hit. So
yep.
That's the problem with him. Amador, he was actually having a pretty bad year. In fact, James Anderson just moved him down in his prospect rankings, and it's only because Rogers got hurt. So answer is no. I mean, Amador is hitting 115. He's doing a mean Victor Scott impersonation right now at the plate.
I had chosen to forget that name for a while.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm here to help remind you.
A little bit of pop and a good amount of speed on Amador. He had 22 stolen bases in 46 games in AA. But yeah, I mean, he was hitting 194 in AA, and they jumped him up. So obviously, it was because of the injury. If you're trying to catch a path
to the dugout real fast.
Yeah, if you're trying to catch Lightning with some stolen bases, I could see it. But I ended up not bidding on him myself.
Yep, same.
Any love for our old friend Ramon Laureano and now playing for the Braves now that they've got a number of injuries there?
This is exactly the type of player that probably will work, but no, because the Braves, when it comes to adding outfielders, it seems like they're pretty good at timing that. That's an Anthropoulos thing. He's pretty good at that, but no, I didn't go hard after Laureano. I just don't think he's the same player anymore.
I do not either. Did you know that Marcell Ozuna is currently winning the Triple Crown in the National League?
That's incredible.
Is that wild?
He was this close to getting cut by the Braves. They were sick of like the rests and all that. I mean, he was this close to getting banned from baseball for a little bit.
20 home runs, 62 RBIs, hitting 327 is a crazy stat line.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, those the Dodgers quiet month on offense here. Betts and Ohtani were hitting like 340, 350 a while. They're both down to still a very good 300. But Ozuna's Triple Crown in the NL. That's I don't think anybody called that for June 16th. It's good enough round of the season that's pretty major.
It is. It is. So I mean, just think where they'd be without him.
Yeah, because they've had so many guys slumping, and he's obviously been great. We mentioned real quick the Rockies. Did you have any sort of preference between Toglia, Montero, Charlie Blackmon, Jake Cave, Hunter Goodman? Was there anybody that you particularly liked more than the others? You just kind of random grab bag of Rockies.
I think they were all waterfall bids where I could, like Toglia. I think I had a bid in on him. Hunter Goodman's playing some catcher, so but you can't use him at catcher this week, which is kind of doing that there. And then Cave, actually, yes, a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of saying I was a little bit in on Toglia. I like the first base outfielder, but he played a bunch this week, so I was kind of looking for just playing time in that spot. But it's still the Rockies. It's still gonna be tough to figure out who to play. I picked up Montero the last 7-game week, didn't work out very well, so I just I didn't do much with any of them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's right.
Anybody else on offense that you guys were going after or found interesting? Because
I think there's a guy we need to mention, and that is Jake McCarthy. That with Corbin Carroll possibly out for a long time, McCarthy, who's already been playing, was still available in a lot of places, and is gonna get more playing time. And also probably Alec Thomas will benefit from this some as well. But I think with Carroll out, I mean, all of a sudden that's 4 guys for 4 spots instead of 5 guys for 4 spots for the Diamondbacks, depending on what they do with the other, roster movement there if Carroll is out. But, Grichuk has been getting a lot of playing time for them. And that's been kind of like the guy that's kind of gummed up the works a little bit there for those. But McCarthy is stealing a lot too. He's actually kind of becoming end of 2022 McCarthy again.
And that's what he does. I mean, he had 26 steals last year, even when he was bad. I don't think he can hit. He hits nothing hard. I can't stand the hit profile on McCarthy. But yeah, if you need steals and he's playing every day, you can get. I mean, you get 20 plus steals though, and that's certainly worth a pickup. Yeah, we picked him up like a couple of weeks ago on the cheap in the main, and we've been using him for half weeks. Here and there. When the Arizona's got like 3 righties on the schedule. So I imagine we'll be using him a little bit more in the next couple of weeks, though. We'll see.
The problem is we have plenty of outfielders, maybe not good ones, but we have plenty of outfielders. The issue is like trying to find a corner. Like we cut Montero from the Rockies this week. He's not good, and he doesn't even play every day. So we just can't afford.
I cut him a couple weeks ago too. It was just kind of the same thing I was going with. There's only so much you could do. Even though he plays for the Rockies, it just doesn't work. But a couple of questions in the chat about people making trades. Garrett Crochet is in a lot of trade rumors right now. What do you think happens? I mean, it's kind of what we talked about with Lease Heel. And I know you're going to be like, you just kind of got to pitch him. But Crochet's another guy where injury or innings limit has to probably go into people's minds. I mean, he threw 12 innings last year, none in 2022 and 54 in 2020. He was at 82 and 2/3 right now. He's been awesome. Like 0.9 whip. The ERA is in the low threes. He's been fantastic. I'm just curious, what do you think? Do you think we're getting an innings limit? Do you think it's kind of like Heel, like just kind of let him go and see what happens? It's just interesting because he's going to be on a trade deadline, and whoever trades him has to kind of figure out what they want to do with him too.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think that might kind of just tamp down his trade value at the trade deadline there too, for real life, let alone fantasy life. I think I think you got to be thinking about Crochet as a multi-year investment if you're going to go ahead and trade for him.
He's not a free agent until like 2027, I think.
Yeah, and of course, the White Sox are asking for the stars and hoping to land on the moon with their trade offers, which of course they should do.
Yep.
By the way, I always love it there. They're going to have to bring down their offer if they're going to get something done. No, it's the other team that needs that player. You're going to have to raise your offer. I always love seeing that there. The reporting is always slanted towards the buying team in terms of like, oh, they're asking way too much. The asking price is so high. Like nobody wants to trade their prospects. It's so funny. But I get it at the same time. I get the hesitation. You don't want to do Larry Anderson for Jeff Bagwell. You want to be able to get it right. But so many times, though, you see these trades that do work out, and then you look at what do they give up? Like Detroit's go for it trades for Miggy, or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, they won that by a mile. Yeah. Don't be afraid to trade a prospect there, but that's neither here nor there. I know you kind of asking about Luis Heel and innings limit, so I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, we talked about Heel in prior shows, trying to figure out what the Yankees will do, and I mean, I think at some point you got to throw him if he's healthy and looking good and feeling comfortable and all that. Obviously, you monitor it, but it's just hard with these guys who miss seasons and miss chunks of time, and their innings aren't built up. And they're both these guys are pitching exceptionally well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's not really running a lot, but did you know that Steven Kwan's hitting 398 right now?
That's insane. I didn't realize it was that good. I knew he was good. He
had
a hit like every time against the Reds.
He had 4 hits today, so that bumped it up from 386 to 398. But very quietly, he's got 196 plate appearances. I know he was out for a little bit, but June 16th hitting 398 is pretty sweet.
Yep, it is pretty sweet. 535 since coming back from the IL. That's pretty goofy.
Mildly warm.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of power, and he's not running 3 for 7 on the base pass.
Yeah.
So
scoring a lot of runs, but there's no pop. There's no RBIs. He only has 17 RBIs on the year, but 398 makes up for a lot of that. That's a big chunk up on your batting average.
He's a rich man's Luis Arias.
Good question in the chat. We probably should have hit. We talked about Mookie. Who do you think gets get Mookie's at bats? Are we going like Miguel Rojas at short? Are we trying to find a way to get Miguel Vargas back up here for some at bats? What do you think the Dodgers do with? I know that Dave Roberts mentioned he's going to move Ohtani to lead off, but I'm more thinking, who is just as simple as Rojas and Kike play short.
This might be the move. I mean, don't forget the great Kevin Biggio now on the team.
Can he play short?
Well, he might play second though.
Yeah, but then because Lux doesn't.
Rojas. Platoon at short.
I don't think Lux can play short with his arm. It's just brutal.
Yeah, Chris Taylor, baby. That's
God. He's so hot on offense that maybe you just got to find a way to slide him in, right? It's just for everybody listening. That was sarcastic. He's the worst offensive player in baseball. Yeah. And I mean, I know that Gavin Lux played short in the past, but they moved him off there because he couldn't make the throws. His arm wasn't good enough. They made Mookie Betts go over and play short because that's how much they didn't want Lux playing shortstop.
I don't think people realize how bad Lux has been as a hitter.
He's awful. He has
266, 285.
He has this reputation for the minor leagues. He's not hit at all in the majors at any point. It's just not been there.
Yeah. I think this might be the impetus to make a real trade. I know they say that they're
I'm trying to think who that potentially could be at shortstop. I think they
just play Rojas every day and they figure out second base instead.
Oh, that could be because you just get Rojas's defense and you try and find a bat in there somewhere. Any of these buried teams that have a value you could trade for Zach Geloff, maybe. I don't think the A's are trading him, but
yeah,
there's so many teams that are still in it. Maybe you get can you trade for Jazz Chisholm and have him play infield again?
Maybe. Tim Anderson's probably available for the asking.
Oh God. Can you imagine? You get the one guy that's worse than Chris Taylor.
Could happen there.
Does Tim Anderson have any home runs this year, Jeff?
I think he does have one. No, he does not.
He has 0. That's 177 games with 1 home run.
And he's slugging .232. He's somehow worse than last year.
Bad. He is worse than last year. It's brutal. But
yeah.
Anybody else you want to talk about? I feel we've kind of hit everything. We've talked about a lot of players, a lot of news, a lot of pickups, a lot of stuff in baseball. Anybody else that's on your mind that you want to discuss? Well, there you go. Paul Sporer with the Paul DeYoung to the Dodgers. He's been raking. He's got 13 home runs.
Yeah. Team obviously is available. I mean,
you don't think the White Sox want to hold on him long term?
It would be so White Sox to say we're going to build around him, but yeah.
We're going to build around our 30-year-old journeyman shortstop.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be someone out there. It's just also it's a question of do you want to deal with the Dodgers? I don't know. It's interesting, but
funny comment from Michael Cicchini about they can't trade Zach Geloff because he's on the ridiculous mock-ups of the Vegas Stadium. That's a good point. I was surprised that
never
anybody.
Get built. I love that.
I'll never get built. It's never happening. But the mock-ups were really funny. They had Geloff on the jumbotron there. I'm pretty sure Steve Fisher has no idea who Zach Geloff is though.
Yeah, John Fisher,
who's Steve Fisher? Coach basketball. I'm all over the place with names tonight.
Steve Fisher doesn't have any idea who Steve Fisher is, but you know.
Oh yeah, John Fisher and Steve Fisher probably have the same idea of who Zach Geloff is. I'll just go with that. But
sure, why not?
Anything else on your mind? Anything else you want to talk about before I butcher any other first names?
No, I think we're good. Happy Father's Day, brother.
Happy Father's Day to you too. Hopefully, it was really good on your end. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hopefully everybody had a really good day. Thanks for listening. As always, we thank DraftKings Pick 6 for the sponsorship of the podcast. Remember the code on that one for the discount there is RW Picks. You get to play $5, you get 50 in Pick 6 credits on DraftKings Pick 6. We do appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for that always. If you want to rate or review the podcast, we appreciate that too. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. Other than that, we'll be back at you next Sunday night. Hope you have a really good week, a really good fantasy week. Move up those standings. We'll talk to you then. Take care.